Hi there, I'm Jan from JB Crafts and I'm back today with my next tutorial in my colour theory series of videos. Now I only launched this last week. We looked at the first video last week and there's been so much interest in the actual idea of colour theory. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you to everybody out there that's watched, given it a thumbs up, commented on the video. I do read all the comments and I do try and sort of put the little love heart on them all. It was so well received that it's really sort of given me a boost. I plan to do several videos in this series, but it's nice to know that it is actually what you guys are wanting. So I have my colour wheel again with me today. And a lot of people asked where I'd got this from, and again they are readily available on Amazon. I do a lot of my shopping on Amazon now, so yeah, most of the stuff that I buy that's craft related that I don't get from a specific store tends to come from Amazon itself. So if you want to treat yourself to one of these, they are a useful tool to have in your stash. It's double-sided, and we'll talk about all this as we go through the videos. And I've actually set it to go to the Pure Colour Red at the top again, which is where we started last week. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time discussing what we did last week. If you want to look back at the first video, we talked about primary colours last week, and I'm just very, very quickly going to bring in the sample that I made for the tutorial last week, just using 3 inks, and we did different ideas. I looked at the difference between the Distress Oxide inks and the Distress inks themselves, and we did a couple of alternative ideas as well for you. So if you want to have a look at that, flick back to the previous video on primary colours for those. So again, just a very, very quick recap about, colour theory not being anything to be afraid of. It is literally just the science of how colour works, and it doesn't have to be anything scary. It broadly fits into 2 categories. Last week we talked about contrast, being colours opposite each other on the wheel that give you a really bright contrast. So I always think, red and green, Christmas time. And also you can have colours that harmonise, so colours that come closer together on the wheel next to each other give you more of a harmonious blend of colours, and we'll come on to all that when we actually get through the different sections of the colour wheel and the different theories in there. We also mentioned this side of the wheel being the warmer tones, and obviously the other side being the cooler tones. So again, that's all in that first video. And I introduced one of the definitions to you last week, being the word hue, H-U-E, which is really just a fancy artistic scientific name for the actual pure colour. So the ones that you see around the outside that are sort of like the first version of the colour are the hues of your colour wheel. And I'm going to leave it there with definitions. I do have some more for you, but I'll bring them in gently. I don't want to bombard you with all the theory side of it in one go. So like I said, last week we looked at red, yellow and blue being the primary colours, and those form a triangle in that wheel. So, and they can't be made by mixing any of the colours. They are kind of like the building bricks of the colour wheel. So if you start with these 3, you can then go on to mix other colours. And that's exactly what we're going to look at today. We're going to move on to the secondary colours today. So if I turn my wheel and actually bring it round this way, we've now got our triangle of secondary colours. So we've got orange here at the top, then I've got green, and then I've got the violet or the purple, depending on which shade you want to call it. And that's what we're going to look at today. So I've done a very, very quick, just with my pens, a very, very quick sort of little chart, just so that you can see this. I'm a visual learner, so I like to see things, I like to draw things out, I like to write things out. If somebody's just speaking to me, I don't always take everything in, and I have to listen lots and lots of times. So actually having a visual does help me. So I thought I'd bring this in for you guys. So just having a look here at the mixture, if we've got the primary colours that we did last week down this left hand side, we've got our secondary colours down the right hand side. And it is literally just a case of mixing these ones that can't be made with any other colour with each other. So just a very brief, I know a lot of you will already know this, so I don't want to go on up too long about this, but the red mixed with the primary yellow gives you the orange, the primary yellow mixed with primary blue gives you the green, and the primary blue with the primary red gives you the violet. So here are the secondary colours. Nice and easy to remember. You've mixed two colours together to get a secondary shade, and that's what we're actually going to work on today. So I'm going to pop those to one side for the time being, and I'm going to bring in the card that I've actually made for you today, just to show you where we're going. I've had a bit of fun with this one. So this is what I'm actually going to be making today, and I love it. I've not had this set of stamps out for absolutely ages. And this is actually a set that I've had again a long time from Tim Holtz. I'll just show you, they're red rubber stamps. I'm used to using clear stamps now, but these are actually red rubber, and they're called Bird Crazy. Lots and lots of sort of goofy little designs. They really appealed to me when these came out, as I say, several years ago now. I don't even know whether they're still available. But again, I know some of you will have this in your stash, and some of you may have something similar that you can relate to. A lot of you have been converting my ideas into using your own items in your stash, and that is exactly what I wanted for this channel. So that's what I'm going to be using for the actual stamps. We're going to need those in a second. And then I've introduced some of those secondary colours. So I'll show you what I had a look at to start with. First of all, I brought my Tri-Blend pens in, my alcohol markers, because last week we used the inks and we used a little bit of the, I did a sample with the metallic paints, and I also, what else did we use? We used oxides and inks. And this week I thought, right, we'll have a look at different mediums. So I had a look through my stash, and again, if I bring that wheel in, I've gone for the nearest orange that I have, and this was actually the burnt orange blend. I found that the true orange was quite a bright shade, and for what I wanted to do, I wanted that little bit more subtle image. The true orange was more up here. It had more of a red tone in it, and again, we'll discuss all these in between colours in future videos. So I've got burnt orange with the Tri-Blend. I then went down to the green section and had a look which one fit the green best, and came up with alpine green, and I'm going to use that mid-tone in here for the greens if I need to use the alcohol pens. And then we'll flick round to the violet. Now I struggled a little bit with the violet. I didn't have anything really this dark, so again I landed on the lavender blend, which was more of a blue violet, which is what I was looking for. So those were the alcohol markers. And then I don't know whether the camera's just picking up on this side as well. I wanted to introduce a little bit of shimmer, so I also went through my sparkle pens and again had a quick click through and looked, and I've picked out again sort of that same tone, a little bit deeper. Again, it's going more into those red tones, but it was the only orange that I'd got in there. And this one's Harvest Moon. These are by Spectrum Noir. So again, if you've got any of these products in your stash, I did think about using pencil crayons. You know, there's lots of different colouring mediums. So this one's Harvest Moon. Then we came down to the green, and I actually picked up Emerald Green in the sparkle pen, and we're going to use that one's going to feature in the design. And then I went for Amethyst with the purple. So you can see here we've got that nice, this was actually a better contrast than the alcohol marker, but they're all shades of that same family of colour, so I'm not too worried about that. So what we're going to do then, we're going to start off with this top section, and I'm going to use the green. So I'm going to take the two colours of the sparkle pen out of the equation for now, and I'm going to use the green sparkle pen along with the purple and the orange alcohol marker. So again, to be careful with this, because I am mixing alcohol, which is solvent, with something that's water-based, and we'll talk our way through that as we go along. So the first thing I'm going to do is create, I wanted something to ground the two little birds on. They've just had a little bit of a meeting. They don't look overly happy. I don't know what's going off there, but yeah, I'm just having a little chit chat. But I needed something to ground them. So I'm going to start off, and that was using the sparkle pen. So I'm just going to put my alcohol markers to one side. I'm going to bring in my mat again just to protect the desktop. And I've got a piece of watercolour card to do this, and I've cut this with one of my dies just so that you've got that nice beveled edge on here. And this is just a 6x4. My finished card is a 7x5 card, but we're going to start with that piece to create that focal point on the front here at 6x4. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to bring in my sparkle pen, and I'm also going to bring in my little sort of modified sponge applicator. So this is just one of the Spectrum Noir applicators with the sponge pad on the end. And then what I've done is I've covered it with a piece of plastic because I don't want all the ink drawn up into this sponge. So it's actually made this a non-porous surface, and you get a different application. We have used this before in videos. So what I'm going to do is first of all just give my sparkle pen a quick shake, just to sort of agitate that glitter in there. And I said, look, already I've not even started and we've got ink on. There must have been a bit on the pen. I've got ink on me already. Okay, so we're going to take this open, and I'm just going to squeeze a little bit. I don't need a lot of this at all. I squeezed out way too much the first time I did it and ended up mopping it up with a spare piece of card just so that I didn't waste it. So we'll give that a wipe this time. Just a bit of housekeeping. Yeah, it was on the lid, look. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just a tiny, I don't want a lot, but just a tiny spritz. And I've done it at the side of it. And again, this is a learning curve, because if you spritz it straight into the ink, it can just shoot out everywhere. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the applicator, just mix the two together. We're still going to get lots and lots of sparkle. And then I just want about 1/2 inch up from the bottom, just a very sort of light application of the ink, just to create like I was sort of visualizing grass when I did this, for them to stand on, to have their little birdie meeting and their chat. So again, just lightly. You can always add a little bit more to it, but like I've said previously, you know, once you've got that ink down, it's not easy to clean up. And again, I am the world's worst at knowing when to stop. So yeah, when you've got that application there, I quite like where these little bits have sort of just spotted up in the air here. Just leave it at that. Step away from it, Jan. And I'm just going to clean off the applicator here, ready for the next use. Make sure that's nice and clean. Dry it off with my cloth. And this is good to go, ready for the next time we need to use it. So again, that can dry either by itself, depending on how much time you've got, or you can help with the heat tool. And obviously, because I'm on video at the minute, I am going to use the heat tool just to give it a little bit of a help on its way, because I want to stamp over the top of this now. So I'm just going to bring my heat tool in and just make sure that that ink's dry before we go over the top of it here. So that's the green, that's one of my secondary colours, and then we're going to bring the other two in the colouring for the actual stamped images, the little birds there. So I just want to dry that off, and you'll see that glitter. I'll show you closer to the camera in a second. You'll see it sort of pop to the surface when it's dry, and it just adds another layer of interest to your cards. So I think that's good to go. So you do tend to get a little bit of warping when you apply the heat, but it's not anything that I'm too worried about. We can sort that out when we stick the card down. So if I just show you that now, you can see that beautiful shimmer from the ink there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use the birds to stamp the positioning for where I want them to go. So I'm going to bring in my stamping platform here. I'm going to position this down in the corner so that I know it's nice and safe. And then I'm going to grab the two birdies that I want from my stamp set, which were these two, and get those positioned onto the card. So again, I'm going to bring this one right down to the bottom to hold it flat. And I want him sort of at one end, and this one, I have to pop that on there so that I can get him in position. Just as if they're stood having a bit of a chat or a debate. I'm not sure what they're discussing, but plenty of space for them both there. And then we'll close the door and pick those stamps up. Now then, have I got mine the right way around? Yes, I have. So next thing I need to think about is when I'm stamping over the watercolour, I need a waterproof ink. So mine are Finesse inks by Spectrum Noir, and if I used one that was solvent based, if I'm going to use the solvent based, it's not going to interact with the water based product that I've already used. So that's why I've gone for this particular ink pad. So what we're going to do is ink these up, give them a nice coating, and this is only a background layer. This is like a positioning layer to work on the top of. So lots of ink on here, and this is black, and then I'm going to move to the grey one to do a second lot of stamping. So here we've got the black, and I'm just going to give that a really good press down. If you have one of the stamping pressure tools handy, you can add that in there just to give it a nice even pressure. And I think that should have done the trick. As I say, this is only, a background layer. So I'm just going to move that one because everything was slipping around a bit there. So that's all I want to do to create that positioning for the actual stamp. So we can bring this one out now, and I'll clean my stamps up afterwards. And we've got what we need for the beginnings of the card now. So what I did then was I've re-stamped the birds. And I swapped to my alcohol proof ink because I've used my 2 tri-blend markers to colour them in. Now you could have gone straight onto here to colour, but because I've used the watercolour card, it's a very, very thirsty card, and my alcohol markers, it sort of just literally sucks up all the ink and you find it really difficult to blend. So what I did was re-stamp them onto some Neenah cardstock, which is much more friendly for the alcohol markers, and then coloured them in with the 2 pens. And I've got these 2 little guys here. And what I've done, a bit of surgery here, I had to be sort of brutal with them because I wasn't going to spend an age. Life's too short to try and cut all these little tiny, tiny hairy bits and feet out. So yeah, they've had a little bit of surgery. They're still okay, they survived. And I've just got the main body here. And what we're going to do is we're almost sort of like paper piecing here. We're just going to put these over the top and cheat so that I've got that nice coloured image straight over the top. Okay, so we'll get those stuck down, and I'm just going to use a little bit of my tacky glue there to pop these in place. So I'm just going to hold this with my tweezers, flip it over, and you can see that alcohol ink come through the back here. And then just pop a little bit of it, I'm still on my inks, a little bit of glue, should I say, on the back of here. And then we can get these stuck down in place. So he's going to cover this one. And again, you know, just line it up with that image underneath. And that's the reason why I stamped them underneath, was so that I'd got the feet and the hair. I didn't want to have to spend an age trying to cut that bit out. Okay. Very, very fine pieces. They would have been very difficult to cut out. So again, we're going to do the same with his little buddy here. Oops. Pop some ink on the back of him. I'm saying again, I don't know what's going off this morning. It's glue jam, not ink. So a bit of adhesive on the back of there. We'll do the same with him. And then really quite straightforward today. We're just going to build the rest of the card. So I'll talk you through the sizes and the projects for these particular videos. I wanted to keep quite simple because I don't want them to be too long for starters, and also I wanted to get that theory aspect of it over to you guys as well. So pop them to one side for a second. I've got a standard 7x5 card blank. And then I'm going to do some matting and layering. So to get the perfect match around here, I've brought in that green again. And I don't know, you can just pick up, there's a little bit of sparkle around the edge there so that it all toned in nicely. And all I did while I'd got that green ink out was take a slightly larger panel. So this one's 6.5 by 4.5 to be my matte layer. And I did exactly the same with the applicator, with what was left of the ink, just to create that frame to go on here. So this is going to be my matte layer, this is going to be my foreground, and again just to lift it, bring everything together, tie in the black ink, I've actually brought a black layer in as well. Now this has got that skinny little border on again. If you remember, I said this one was 6 by 4. I've just gone up 1/8 of an inch, so 6 1/8 by 4 1/8, and you get that lovely little skinny border here. And you'll see now that it just lifts it off that green and also brings it all together with the black ink that we stamped in originally. So I'm going to get those put into place. And just because this has had that little bit of heat on it, I'm going to bring in some of my red line tape. I don't normally do this with just mats and layers, but it is a really strong adhesive, and if there's a little bit of warping from the heat, it's a great way of just straightening it out again. So I'm going to pop a piece along each edge like so, and then just a little bit in the gap as well here. So we're going to pop a piece in here and then a piece at this end, and it's a good way this of actually getting it straight again, getting it nice and flat. So that's going to work for there. So we'll just give that a little bit of a burnish to make sure that all those air bubbles are settled, and then we can take the backers off and start popping the card together. So I'm just going to take one of them off to start off with, because this is very, very sticky. I'm going to take that long one off the top, and this is a very, very skinny border that we've got here. So I'm going to work on the side that still has the tape on it, and I'm going to try and get it positioned the best I can on that edge that's still sliding, and then bring in and position the edge that I've taken the tape off. There we go. And then we can go back in and take the rest of these pieces of tape out. So I'm just going to take the liners off the rest of them, and it just helps with that positioning. Again, you can pop a little bit of wet glue over the top of it, which gives you a bit of wriggle room, but I just find that sort of works for me. And once you've got that one in place, you know that the rest of them are going to be perfectly positioned there. Okay, so I give that a nice press down, and we've got much flatter piece now to work with. So now I've got that bit in position, I'm going to come back to my most favourite glue, my all-purpose glue, because we've got cardstock layers and cardstock layers going together. This is just going to do the rest of the job for me. So just on the back of here, and this is going to adhere to that green layer. And again, I've got the different size borders in here. So we've just got that skinny 1/8 of an inch on the black, and then we've gone up to 1/4 of an inch, so that was a bit more of the green showing. And then I've got another 1/4 of an inch up to the outside of the card blank. So I do like to sort of vary them slightly, just adds a bit of interest. And I didn't want too much of the black showing behind that original design. So just make sure this is going to open as a top fold, tent fold card there. And using that wet glue just gives you that time to get everything in place. So here comes the block again. Pop that one on there for a second. And then just to finish off this time, I'm going to keep it relatively simple. I have chosen one of my stamp sets. So this one is, again, just lots and lots and lots. I love these little skinny stamps just for filling in gaps here. So lots of different sentiments on here. Again, Amazon purchases, and I've chosen the Just Me Saying Hello, and I've stamped that one out using a little banner, and I've just given it sort of a bit of detail at the end there. So this is going to go onto the card. And again, it sort of started getting a bit lost in the background here because it was white. So yes, I could have brought the inks out and inked around it. I often do. But I thought, right, we'll just stay with that black and white theme. And again, I've got a tiny little strip die out of the scrap black that we're going to pop down first. And then pop this one over the top so that we've got just that little bit of lift. So that greeting stands out there. So Just Me Saying Hello. So we've got a few bits of ink. What is it with the ink today? I'm obsessed with ink today. It is not ink, Jan, it's glue. That must be the 3rd time I've said that today. So I'm going to pop that one on here. Make sure that it's running nice and straight there. Whoops. That wasn't straight, was it? Let's try that way. That's better. I can feel it against there. There we go. Yep. And then once I've got that one in position, I'm just going to run some glue down the centre of this one. So I just need a line of adhesive. We got it right at the end, so that I can pop this one with a little bit of that black sticking out at each end there, and just have that one as my greeting today. Okay, and then the last thing, of course, is to bring in the bling. So again, I have a massive card of the little shiny bling here, and again I'm just going to go across the card as I usually do, just to add that little bit of extra bling, and draw your eye from where we've got the stamping starting through the image and up to that sentiment there. So we're going to just grab, should be able to do it with that one, I think. So I want to start with green at this side. I'm going to go through those colours again. So I've got a nice dark green that will show up against the green, still keeping with those three colours. And then I'm going to go into the purples in the middle here. So we're going to go one and a little one in here, and then out to those oranges up at this side. So we've got 1, 2, oops, he's trying to turn over. No, we need it that way. And then a last one up in that corner there. So that's my design done for today, using those secondary colours. Really, really cute. I just love these. They are typically, and I did mention this briefly last week, the first thing you think of, I think, when you look at those colours, to me anyway, is Halloween. You know, that's a perfect example of those secondary colours in play. When you think Halloween, you think about the orange pumpkins, you know, you've got all those greens and purples coming in. If you think about paper pads, costumes, things like that, it is typically a Halloween colour palette, and again works well together, guaranteed to work together. But I felt I couldn't bring myself to make Halloween yet. We may do that later on in the year, but it was a little bit too early for me to get all the box out with all the Halloween gear in here. So this is what we came up with. So pretty much identical today. We've got exactly the same as what we did at the beginning there. This was the sample that I made. I haven't done the insides today, just for the purpose of these colour theory videos. Just wanted to get that detail on the front there. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this one today. Let me know in the feedback if you're still enjoying the videos. And again, I'm hoping that this is going to be a weekly series. So I'll be back again with another one next week for you with the next step on that colour wheel. So just recapping that 3 there, the orange, the green and the violet was our choice today of secondary colours. Right, so I've got another couple of examples just to show you, because I do realise that not everybody's into colouring. So I created pretty much the same design, but I've done a bit of paper piecing with some pattern paper this time. So I used some of my plaid paper and chose the same colour scheme. I've just put some behind here that's got a greeny blue tinge to it. I've done the same, but used a slightly different, a slightly darker shade. This one's actually olive jade in my sparkle pen, but it's still got that lovely shimmer across the bottom there. And then I did exactly the same process, but when I cut out my birdies for the top, I've done them in the pattern paper and then just redid their eyes in a little bit of plain cardstock. So yeah, if you're not into colouring, you know, you don't have to get all the colouring mediums out. There are other ways of doing it. And then I went with a completely different look. I had these little dies in my my stash, and I just thought this was a fun one. Maybe if you've got a children's birthday or anything like that. I know both my grandchildren love the dinosaurs, and I bought these with a view to doing birthday cards for them in the future. I found a little sentiment that just says, "You are awesome." And all I've done is just squares of the 3 secondary colours. I've popped them through an embossing folder just so that there's a little bit of texture on there, and then recut the dinosaurs and offset them on the different colours. So it's just to give you some ideas of different things that you could do incorporating those colours. I think this design, going back to that Halloween theme, this design would make a great Halloween theme. You know, you could sort of replace this with the pumpkins and maybe the witch's hat, and I don't know, maybe a toad or something down here, I don't know. But I just thought, yeah, just to give you some ideas. So we've got all 3 of those today, just to give you that colour scheme on those secondary colours. So thanks for watching. If you're enjoying those videos, please give them a thumbs up. It does help the channel tremendously. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider that too. Just click that subscription button and you will see all the videos when they're uploaded. And all there is left to say now is I will see you very, very soon, and bye bye for now.